Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are tackling something literally all of us have dealt with, a clouded mind. You know the feeling, right? We're going to dive into some ancient wisdom to figure out exactly why our minds get so congested with negative emotions, and more importantly, we're going to map out a real, structured, step-by-step journey to get that mental clarity back.
So, have you ever felt your judgment just completely clouded by a sudden wave of anger or anxiety or maybe an intense craving? Yeah, we've all been there. Literally, one minute you're thinking clearly, and the next, this massive tidal wave of emotion just washes over you, hijacking your actions and your peace of mind. That total loss of clarity, that is exactly the core problem we're diagnosing today.
All right, let's look at the roadmap for today. First, the nature of Klesha. Second, the five hindrances. Third, stage 1, which is right view. Fourth, stage 2, direct meditation. And finally, stage 3, profound insight. Okay, let's kick things off with part 1, the nature of Klesha.
So the source text introduces us to this concept of klesha, which translates to mental defilements. Now, a klesha is basically defined as any thought, word, or action arising from abhi-saṅkhāra. Those are volitional mental formations that pop up in response to something you perceive through your senses. Think of these mental defilements like actual poisons in the mind. They distort our perception, they seriously cloud our judgment, and ultimately they block our path to Lokottara Nibbāna, or ultimate liberation. They're basically the ultimate roadblocks to finding inner peace.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how neatly the text categorizes all of our chaotic, everyday negative emotions into just 3 fundamental mental attachments. First up, you've got rāga, which is desire. That encompasses all forms of attraction and craving. Then there's dvesha, or aversion, and this isn't just anger or hatred. It actually includes fear and jealousy too. Finally, there's moha, which is delusion, or having a distorted perception of reality. These 3 attachments, they are the absolute engine generating all those disturbed mental states we struggle with, like anxiety, depression, and destructive emotions.
Moving right along to part 2, the 5 hindrances.
So these roadblocks are specifically known as the 5 hindrances, or Nīvaraṇa. And honestly, you're probably going to recognize them from your own day-to-day life. First is kamachanda, which is sensual desire. Second is vyapada, meaning ill will or anger. Next up is thina middha, referring to sloth and torpor. You know, that super heavy, unmotivated feeling. After that, we have udhacha kukukcha, which is restlessness and worry. And finally, vichikicha, meaning doubt or indecisiveness. These 5 hindrances are directly fueled by the kleshas we just talked about, and they act like a massive brick wall obstructing both our meditation practice and our ability to develop any real insight. The dynamic between these forces is just so interesting. The source describes rāga, craving, and dvesha, aversion, as 2 sides of the exact same emotional coin. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. In practice, reducing your aversion is a big deal, because as that dvesha goes down, your mind naturally starts to cool off and stabilize. As you step away from that constant seesaw of craving and aversion, the grip of all these mental defilements really begins to loosen up, which paves the way for genuine clarity.
So the big question, how do we actually get rid of them? Well, the removal of these defilements is a very gradual, layered process. It is definitely not an overnight fix. It unfolds across 3 distinct stages, moving from intellectual understanding into experiential meditation and finally arriving at profound realization. Let's break down this treatment plan.
Starting with part 3, stage 1, right view. This first stage is known as dasana pahataba. It refers to defilements that are abandoned through dasana, or right understanding. And how do you actually get this? Well, it comes from hearing the Dhamma, studying sacred texts, and doing a lot of deep reflection. Basically, this initial stage is all about clarifying your worldview and dispelling those fundamental misconceptions we all carry around. You're building the conceptual and philosophical foundation you need to mentally prep yourself for the deeper insight that's coming later.
Which brings us to part 4, stage 2, direct meditation.
Stage 2 is bhavana pahataba, because let's face it, study alone just isn't enough to uproot the more subtle defilements hiding in our minds. For that, we really need direct experiential practice, primarily through something called satipatthana, or the 4 foundations of mindfulness. This means maintaining a very sustained, disciplined awareness of your physical body, your feelings, your mind, and your mental objects. You literally have to experience it in real time, rather than just reading about it in a book. When you actually observe your mind in meditation, you directly reveal the true nature of reality. You see anicca, which is the insatiability of things, dukkha, their inherent unsatisfactoriness, and anattā, their ultimate futility. You basically learn to look right past the asada, that initial attraction or quick pleasure you get from a thought or a sensory input, and you start to see the adinava, the hidden drawbacks and dangers underneath. And honestly, directly experiencing how futile our cravings are is what truly breaks the grip these defilements have on our minds. And finally, part 5, stage 3, profound insight. This is called nadasana na bhavana pahataba. We're talking about defilements that are so incredibly deeply rooted that basic meditation and intellectual understanding literally cannot touch them. So the crucial takeaway here is that at this super advanced level, a practitioner has to develop profound insight during advanced states of dhyana, which is meditative absorption, and vipassana, or insight meditation. Here, prajna, meaning profound wisdom, is absolutely essential. You're working directly with automana, the mental objects arising in deep contemplation to systematically dismantle even the most stubborn, latent impurities. The source material leaves us with this really powerful takeaway. Conceptual knowledge alone is insufficient. True liberation demands meditative insight and experiential wisdom. That perfectly sums up our explainer today. Eliminating these mental poisons, the kleshas, is not some quick, superficial hack. True inner transformation requires serious, disciplined effort, sustained mindfulness, and direct realization. You really have to do the work. So that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. Will you remain caught in that endless emotional loop of craving and aversion? Or will you take the very first step toward clearing your clouded mind today? The roadmap is right here. Study to build right view. Practice mindfulness to catch those everyday hindrances. And commit to the deep experiential wisdom that brings true liberation. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this helps you find your own inner clarity.